The crystal glasses clinked softly against bone china as the waiter navigated between the elaborately set tables of Giovanni's, Metro City's most prestigious steakhouse. My family had gathered here to celebrate my cousin Emily's promotion to senior partner at Johnston & Myers, the city's largest corporate law firm. Specifically, she now headed their aerospace division, a detail that would become deliciously ironic in about 20 minutes. So Michael, Uncle Bob's voice carried that familiar condescending tone as he carved into his $95 Wagyu steak. Still, working in your parents' garage. The way he emphasized working made it clear what he really meant. Wasting time. The same tone he'd used when I turned down that entry-level engineering position at his friend's firm 5 years ago. The position that would have meant abandoning my research. The garage is actually quite well equipped now, I replied mildly, checking my phone's countdown timer. 17 minutes. The quantum field generators alone. Quantum field generators. Aunt Karen's laugh cut through the ambient restaurant noise. Listen to him still playing with his science fiction toys. At least Emily here is doing something real with her life. Emily smiled apologetically in my direction. We'd been close as kids before family expectations had driven us down different paths. She'd followed the prescribed route. Prestigious law school, corporate career, country club membership. I'd chosen different priorities. The aerospace division is expanding rapidly, Emily added, perhaps trying to change the subject. We've just taken on a major new client, very hush-hush. Something about revolutionary propulsion technology. I hid my smile behind a sip of water. 15 minutes now. Speaking of real jobs, Mom interjected with that hopeful tone I'd grown to dread. Melissa's husband David is still offering you that engineering position. Good salary, benefits, normal working hours. Instead of staying up all night with your equations, Dad added, shaking his head. Son, at some point you have to join the real world. The real world. As if the laws of quantum mechanics I'd been rewriting were somehow less real than corporate paperwork and office politics. I checked my phone again. 12 minutes. Those equations are actually quite fascinating, Peter spoke up. Sweet, awkward Peter, Emily's new boyfriend and, more importantly, a NASA propulsion engineer. The only person at the table who might actually understand what I'd been working on. Michael showed me some of his theoretical work last week, and the quantum plasma containment principles are really... Please, not at dinner, Aunt Karen sighed dramatically. It's bad enough he's wasted 5 years on this garage hobby. Don't encourage him. Uncle Bob nodded sagely, launching into his familiar lecture. When I was your age, Michael, I was already managing a department. Had a company car, stock options, real responsibility. But you... He gestured with his fork. You're still tinkering with gadgets like a teenager. 9 minutes. I adjusted my tie, bought specially for this dinner. The NASA press conference would be starting soon. Did you at least file your taxes this year? Uncle Bob continued. Or are you still claiming your research as business expenses? The patent royalties actually made filing more complicated, I noted. My accountant had to restructure several investment vehicles. Patent royalties. Uncle Bob's laugh boomed across the restaurant. Listen to him trying to sound important. What's next? A Nobel Prize. 6 minutes. I smiled slightly, remembering the classified nomination papers sitting in my secured drawer. I just worry about your future, Mom said softly. All those strange components you keep ordering, the late nights, the classified documents. Classified documents? Emily's lawyer instincts perked up. What kind of classified documents? Probably printed them himself, Uncle Bob chortled. Playing secret agent in his little garage laboratory. 4 minutes. The restaurant's multiple TVs were already tuned to NASA's channel, though the volume was still low. A few tables over, I noticed another NASA engineer I knew slightly trying to catch my eye. I gave him a small nod. Michael, Dad's voice had that forced patience he'd been using since I'd first explained my quantum plasma theories. We just want you to have a normal, successful life. Is that too much to ask? 2 minutes. The NASA logo appeared on the TV screens. Define successful, I said quietly, straightening my tie again. Because I think. Not now, dear. Mom interrupted, pointing to Emily. Let's focus on celebrating real achievements. Emily, tell us more about your new aerospace client. Emily beamed. Well, I can't say much, but they're working on something revolutionary. Supposedly going to change space travel forever. Though honestly, their technical documents might as well be in Greek. Actually, I glanced at my phone's final countdown. They're in standard quantum notation. And you're right about one thing. The NASA administrator appeared on screen, flanked by serious-looking officials. The restaurant's maitre d' began turning up the volume as heads turned toward the TVs. Ladies and gentlemen, the administrator began, today marks a historic moment in human space exploration. After extensive testing and verification, NASA is proud to announce a revolutionary breakthrough in propulsion technology. My family froze, forks halfway to mouths, as my photo appeared on screen next to complex technical diagrams. Working independently, Dr. Michael Chen has developed a quantum plasma engine that will fundamentally transform space travel as we know it. The initial contract, valued at $3.8 billion. The sound of Uncle Bob's wine glass shattering against the floor was particularly satisfying. I smiled at my stunned family. So about that real job. Today's announcement, the NASA administrator continued, represents the most significant advancement in propulsion technology since the invention of the rocket engine. Dr. Chen's quantum plasma containment system achieves what was previously thought impossible. My family sat frozen, their expressions a theatrical progression of disbelief. Uncle Bob's face had turned an interesting shade of purple, while Aunt Karen's mouth opened and closed without producing sound. The remains of his shattered wine glass lay forgotten beneath the table. The testing phase, conducted in collaboration with our top propulsion laboratories, the administrator gestured to complex diagrams I knew by heart, has exceeded all theoretical projections. Dr. Chen's engine demonstrates a specific impulse 10 times greater than our most advanced chemical rockets, with minimal fuel requirements. But, Dad stammered, staring at the technical schematics displayed behind the administrator. Those look like the drawings all over your workbench. Patent diagrams, I confirmed, calmly cutting my steak. The quantum field equations alone are worth about $40 million. Though the plasma containment system is the real breakthrough. Emily's legal composure cracked completely as she recognized the technical documents on screen. Those specifications, they're identical to our new client's propulsion project. Johnston and Myers' mysterious aerospace client, I nodded, has spent the last 3 months trying to reverse engineer my engine. Rather unsuccessfully, I might add. Their offer was insultingly low, $200 million for technology worth billions. Peter, the NASA engineer, was practically vibrating with excitement. The quantum mechanics involved. It's revolutionary. We spent 6 months just verifying the math worked. Michael, when you first showed me those equations last week, I couldn't believe. That's why we needed the quantum field generators in the garage, I explained to my mother, whose hands were trembling around her water glass. Conventional labs couldn't handle the plasma containment requirements. The NASA feed switched to animation showing my engine's capabilities. Initial applications will include Mars missions, asteroid mining operations, and deep space exploration. The reduced fuel requirements and unprecedented thrust-to-mass ratio make previously impossible missions not only feasible but economical. All those components you kept ordering, Dad's voice was barely a whisper. The specialized equipment, the security systems, were funded by my other patents, I said. The fuel injection system you called a waste of time in high school? It's been standard in commercial aircraft for the past 5 years. The royalties alone paid for the quantum field generators. Uncle Bob found his voice at last, though it cracked slightly. But you live in your parents' garage. The garage dimensions were perfect for the containment field testing, I explained. Though I admit the new facility they're building me in Colorado will be more comfortable. The quantum computing center alone is larger than this restaurant. Quantum computing. Aunt Karen's voice faded as another diagram appeared on screen, showing the engine's internal complexity. A necessary side project, I noted. Conventional computers couldn't handle the plasma field calculations. The quantum processor patents are worth about $600 million according to my lawyers. Emily's legal mind was racing visibly. The security clearance investigations last month, the classified documents, the NDAs, were quite thorough, I agreed. The military applications required extreme vetting. By the way, you might want to tell your firm's aerospace client to stop trying to hack my security systems. The quantum encryption is rather beyond their capabilities. The administrator was detailing the contract terms. In addition to the initial payment of $3.8 billion, the agreement includes substantial royalties for commercial applications. Dr. Chen will retain full consulting rights and lead the integration team for NASA's deep space missions. Consulting rights? Mom's voice quavered. They can't build it without me, I said simply. The quantum mechanics involved are, well, let's just say there's a reason Peter's team took 6 months to verify it worked. Most of the underlying physics is still being peer-reviewed for publication. Peter nodded enthusiastically. The plasma containment principles alone rewrite half of what we thought we knew about quantum field theory. The Nobel Committee is going to have a field day with this. More animations played across the TV screens. My engine taking humans to Mars, to the asteroid belt, to the outer solar system. Dreams I'd sketched in notebooks while my family mocked my hobby. Those late nights, Mom whispered, the strange noises from the garage, the power surges. Quantum field testing can be a bit demanding on residential electrical systems, I acknowledged. Though the new containment principles should solve that issue. That patent publishes next month. Dad's hands shook as he reached for his wine. My son, revolutionized space travel? From our garage, Mom added weakly. The garage was just the prototype facility, I said, checking another message from NASA. Wait until you see what I'm building in the basement. The following weeks transformed more than just space travel. My family's carefully ordered worldview underwent its own quantum shift, though some adjusted better than others. Uncle Bob developed a curious habit of forwarding me job listings, each more desperate than the last. Vice President of Engineering, 7 figures plus stock options. He'd email at 3 a.m., apparently missing the irony of offering 6-figure jobs to someone who'd just revolutionized physics. The day after I declined an offer to head SpaceX's propulsion division, Elon's third attempt that week, Uncle Bob was hospitalized for what Aunt Karen called stress-related complications. But it was a real company, he'd protested from his hospital bed, clutching printouts of the SpaceX offer. With a real office and everything. I sent him a get-well card from my new office, Mission Control at Johnson Space Center, where we were preparing for the first test flight. The quantum engine's soft blue glow in the testing chamber probably didn't help his blood pressure. Mom and Dad underwent their own evolution. The garage, once a source of embarrassment, our son lives in there, yes, but he's working on things, became their proudest showcase. Mom started giving tours to incredulous neighbors, pointing out scorch marks from early plasma containment tests as if they were Renaissance art. And this, she'd declare, gesturing to a perfectly ordinary electrical outlet, is where he plugged in the quantum field generator. The fact that the actual generator had been removed to a secure facility didn't diminish her enthusiasm. Dad transformed his skepticism into an almost religious devotion to understanding my work. He ordered quantum mechanics textbooks by the dozen, turning his den into a physics library. I'd catch him late at night, surrounded by equations, muttering about wave functions. I almost understand the first chapter, he announced proudly one morning after his third straight night studying. Though the part about quantum plasma dynamics is still a bit. Dad, I reminded him gently, most PhD physicists don't understand quantum plasma dynamics. That's why the engine works. Emily's law firm underwent its own crisis. Their aerospace client, caught attempting industrial espionage against my patents, faced federal investigation. Emily, to her credit, immediately recused herself and switched to environmental law. Though, she admitted during one of our newly regular lunch meetings, I keep getting calls from tech companies wanting to know if I can introduce them to my genius cousin, their words, not mine. Peter, now my liaison at NASA, proved invaluable in managing the scientific community's response. When the full equations were published, 3 separate physics departments had to revise their doctoral programs. The quantum field interactions alone invalidate half our textbooks, he explained gleefully. We're getting emergency funding requests from universities worldwide just to update their curriculum. Aunt Karen found her own unique coping mechanism. She began introducing me at social functions as my nephew, the scientist, A dramatic upgrade from her previous, Emily's cousin who lives in a garage. Though she still occasionally suggested I get a real job, she now did it with an odd sort of pride. The Nobel Committee's call surprised no one except my family. Uncle Bob, finally released from the hospital, had to sit down abruptly when he saw the news. The prize ceremony in Stockholm was especially sweet. I made sure they all had front row seats. The quantum plasma engine, the presentation speech declared, represents not just a revolution in space travel, but a fundamental breakthrough in our understanding of physics itself. Dr. Chen's work opens new frontiers in human exploration while rewriting the laws of quantum mechanics. I caught Mom wiping away tears as the medal was placed around my neck. Dad clutched his quantum mechanics textbooks like religious texts. Uncle Bob, still slightly pale, managed a weak thumbs up. The garage, now a registered historic landmark, stands empty these days. My new research facility in Colorado houses equipment worth more than the entire neighborhood. But sometimes late at night I'll visit the old workspace where it all began. The scorch marks Mom loves to show off are still there. The reinforced electrical system still hums softly. And on the workbench, gathering dust, sits Uncle Bob's business card from that entry-level engineering position he'd pushed so hard. Next week we're testing the engine's deep space capabilities. The first human mission to Mars launches in 18 months. And in my new facility's basement, quantum fields are beginning to shape something even more extraordinary. After all, revolutionizing space travel was just the warm-up act. So, I asked at our most recent family dinner, watching Uncle Bob's face carefully, who wants to hear about my thoughts on time dilation?